or ways of playing that I've picked up over, I guess, a bunch of years. Things that I don't hear anyone really talking about. Like, for example, one of them is where on the in between the frets, metal bars or whatever, where to actually play. I play. It depends on where I am, but typically, I used to be right in the dead center. I think everyone is when we start that way, but that isn't very efficient. It's great to learn, but once you start building momentum and you get into stretching and doing all that other stuff, it's going to limit you if you're really thinking about dead center, hitting where the dots are every single time. It becomes limiting, for me at least, right? Again, I should say all personal preference. So what I find myself doing is I edge my fingers right up, and it's kind of wedged at more of an angle, like so pitted. Good reference. Anyway, it gets right on the edge. So if you could see where it's going, it's right in there. Mainly because, I don't know, this might be superstitious, but I feel like it gets a fatter tone. But you gotta be careful not to buzz it just like that. So that's where I end up playing. You can hear the difference. So dead center. And then going up. And for feel, again, this is like super subtle shit that just kind of separates it from beginner, intermediate, advanced, whatever the superlative you want to give yourself. But what it does is it gives me I can really feel it. I know that I'm right against that fret. And it also helps when I start stretching. Like, that right there, going from 12 to 17, I'm right against that edge. And again, I don't make it a very conscious one where I have to hit it, otherwise I'm going to lose speed over it. But you can see it's right on the edge of that. What other subtle, that was the first one that came to mind. Ghost notes are a big one too, where you're going to keep playing and you're just not going to actually pluck a string. I've done some videos on ghost notes. If you go on the search or whatever, you can find them. But like Jesus Christ Superstar. Let me see if you can put this up so you can see my right hand more. So it would be, if you just played the riff without any ghost notes, it's... And it's a world of difference from that to... It's just playing ghost notes. It's a lot of feel. You'll get into it a lot, or I get into it a lot with blues too. That for the one, it's the anticipation. So sounds sick, my guy. Thanks. It's Charlie, so I'm guessing it's a guy too. Thanks, Charlie. So those ghost notes can be anticipations too. So Rancid too, like. Right there it happens too, so. Granted he plays it with a pick, but the same thing applies, so. That part too, it's more of an open with the pick, the ghost note. But, so a ghost note / anticipation note, that's another subtle nuance. You don't have to play it. If you were to play it straightforward, you could use the pick with its Rancid, just... And right there, that's no subtlety, right? Those are just the notes. If you add a little bit of slide and the pull-offs, changes the the whole thing. So with, even if it's a lead in, just a half step slide. So you could hear the difference from that end. Same thing with, and again, I use my fingers mostly. I'm not nearly as good as I am on a pick. That's my own problem. A lot of people shit on playing with a pick. That's just dumb. If the song calls for a plick, you should plick, which is like a pick. You should be able to play it with a pick. I just prefer fingers the whole time. But if you're gonna play, especially Rancid and stuff like that, you have to play with a pick. There's no other way around it. Lighter pick, heavier pick. Those are gonna be subtle differences that you'll hear, but the only way for these really to take course in your playing is to do them consistently. And I only have enough bandwidth in my head to work on one or two things at a time. Otherwise, I'm overloaded. So just the idea of consciously putting my finger closer to the bar, and by bar I mean fret, just doing that in my playing, if you do that for about a week or two, every time you play, it'll just become like anything else when you started playing. It's second nature. It just becomes natural. So I would just focus on it. The benefits are huge, but it's huge in incremental ways. So if you're close to the bar here, like you could throw fills in a lot easier. Back to Jesus Christ Superstar, like because I'm on the edge. Oops. Wow, I haven't done this on a 5-string yet. When you get into really fast fills like that, I'll get it, I swear. You're able to trail off more because you're able to bounce right off of that, as opposed to being in the middle. It's just going to be next to impossible, especially for speed. So playing right there doesn't mean you have to be flying all the time, but things that, when someone sounds fast, it's because they're dynamic. They're not really a fast player. They're able to throw fast shit in when it's groove. I can't catch a break for myself. I'll blame the 5-string. It's totally not my fault as a player, right? But the point is, you're able to do, or I'm able to do all that because I'm playing close to the bar. What other subtle nuances? Getting away from this too. Every other, all the time. Highly recommend to learn how to do it that way. But then you could throw raking in, and raking is when you're dragging your finger down. A good example of that would be My Friend in Misery, the Metallica one. He uses a pick with it, but if you were to use your fingers, it's that motion. And pulling all the way down. But what happens there is every time you drag, it'll stop the open string. And if you're using a pick where they're supposed to ring out, Jesus, I gotta play this thing more. So when you're playing that way, what you could do if you wanted to use your fingers, you can assign one finger per string. I use these 3, right? So it's, index is gonna be A, the higher string will be G, and my middle is gonna be D. So different sounds, especially from the pick. Which is exactly why when you have something down, you don't really have it down. There's ways to play it. Like I said, I'm not that good at a pick. I'm not gonna say I'm not that good. I'm not even. I'm definitely less at it than fingers. So when I go through my modes or like thirds, And that's playing the long way, because I could obviously play that here. I should also be practicing with the pick, so. So let's see if I can do it. You can hear in my playing, that's not nearly as good. Sloppy. But the only way to make it not sloppy is to practice, 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 and then more practice. Yeah, you're not just going to play it once. And another subtlety that I would say everyone does, and it's a glaring issue, but no one admits it or wants to change it, myself included, is I find myself playing stuff I know how to play, because it's like we put our ego first, and we feel better when we're fucking shredding something. Like, I know how to do that. Well, I don't know how to do that one. I've just got to practice more. But my point is I can play that all day long, but I'm not going to gain anything. I'm not going to advance as a player. So instead of just doing that, I could learn at that level. I should be practicing like Flight of the Bumblebee or something like that. But then it's going to challenge me, and I don't like doing it because I feel like I suck and I'll never get it. And all of that shit hits our head, regardless of the level you are playing. Playing something above your ability is the only way to get better. So just when you get something down, there's a limit. You don't stop practicing until you get it right. You stop practicing. What's the term? You don't practice till you get it right. You practice till you'll never fuck it up, which will always happen. So you're always practicing it, but spending your time on practicing difficult things, I get away from by playing all the same stuff I know, and it hones my skill, but it's not really that productive of what I'm spending my time at. For 5 strings especially, floating your thumb, that's a subtle technique that people talk about but don't really use too much, or if they do, it's hard for me to explain how to do it because it's a second nature thing. So on a 5 string, when you're playing, that B is going to rumble. You won't really hear it live too much unless you're like a solo bass player or something, but in a recording and in a mix, you'll hear it, and if you try to ignore it, everyone else will hear it, and they'll tell you in no uncertain terms to play better, I guess is what they'll tell you. The bass sounds muddy or whatever because it'll subtly start ringing out. So what I do is when I'm not playing the B and I'm up above the E string, my thumb is not only resting on the E string here, it's going down. So it's holding against the B as well. Let me see if I can get that there. So normally, if you're playing, you would just rest it this way. But I go down and make contact with it. I don't know if you can see the spacing. So it's actually, like the space would be here, I'm resting it against. So this way I'm holding the E and the B string and then playing my higher strings. Because then I don't have to worry about it. And it's not that hard to do when you realize it's anchored there. It's a fixed position. So even though it's called a floating thumb, while it's there, you don't have to worry about it. And it's not moving much. Until you come down, then you float your thumb down. So if I were to do that, it's hard to stop and show it, but in the rhythm of it, we'll see when I actually do it. That's trying to slow it down. In real time, it'd be... And right there, it's down, so these 3 can go. So muting your low B string, or your low E, but more so on the 5, because just putting it here like this is not enough, because that's going to rumble the whole time. But if you put it there, doesn't matter. That's another position I'll do, is just hold them here and lift off. So if you're typing like this, you kind of just keep these up and always down. Same way with this one, and I'll mute a lot with my left hand as well. So I'm trying to think what would go with the left for that one. Like Seinfeld. If I low B here. So if it's, I gotta remember the notes. I'm not very good at slapping either. I gotta break out the 5 because my ego is in check. Or break out the 4, hold on. God damn it, there's no way I'm letting that sit on the internet. Hold on. Obviously, I need to practice the 5 much more for slapping. But my point is muting with my left hand. If I don't know how to fucking play it, I can't show you how to do it, right? So. And then, hold on. The whole point is I'm hitting that, muting the E, so. Whatever it is, I gotta practice it more. But my point is you can creep that thumb around too. Don't take all your slapping advice from me, because if someone's not that great at it, fucking listen to them. But I will say how I do it, and it gets me through. I know how to slap enough where I get a gig for it. I could play with it. It's something everyone does. I'm not against it. I don't listen to any music that has slap in it, outside of Primus. Primus, if I ask, I play this one a lot too. Ask someone what's their favorite slap bass band. You'll get Rage Against the Machine thrown in there, but they only have one song where there's actual slap in it. Everything else is all fingers. So Primus, Rage, Larry Graham is everything he's ever played too, like all of that stuff, but that's not the kind of slap we're talking about. I'm not saying anyone can do that, but that's not, you know, YouTube virtuoso shit, which is great. I'm not knocking it. I don't play it. Can I play it? Sure. I can't play it right now. I'm under the impression you could play absolutely anything. It doesn't matter. If another human being does it, you can do it. What are you going to spend your time on playing? For me, it's classical stuff and all that fun shit. But anyway, before I dig a hole on the internet talking about slap bass, there's plenty of people to follow for that. When it comes to more subtleties, that's what I do. I'm muting that E string if I have to, because I don't follow through either. Just the way I learned how to play back in, I don't know, 90s or whatever. I started playing at 4 and I was born in 87. Birthday in 2 weeks, by the way, late 30s. So my point is when I would play, it's a lot of the flea stuff where you're hitting and bouncing back immediately. I'm always popping up like. That whole technique, I have not retrained myself, and I'm probably not going to retrain myself to go straight down and hit like, I've seen slap where it's more of a way of strumming. It's not actually hitting it. It sounds fucking sick though. I don't do it justice. Let's see, what else? We did ghost notes, anticipations. Hammer on and pull off is huge too. Like this, we'd be plucking each one for speed. Or, and then, like, what is it, Iron Maiden? Granted, it's the guitar part, but. And then also Schism. Also with the pick too, but that hammer-on, using it as a writing technique or playing technique, not just to make it faster. That's where you could really get into some cool shit. Back to classical with Turkish March, right? So it's this part. All that's happening is open, 2, 4. But I'm not going, it's stuttering and pulling out longer, so. That's a perfect example of slow is smooth and smooth is fast, because I'm actually slowing it down, and because it's slower, it sounds really fast. Because this part's way faster. That's another example, hammering on and pulling off, sliding as well. So instead of playing it this way, that's a perfect example of a lot of subtlety changes the entire bass line altogether. And you can come up here too for that part is, that would be playing it straight, but if you use your three fingers for triplets on that, and then hammer on and pull off too. Actually, that part, you're not going to get that unless you're doing that subtlety work. So, sounds weird. Granted, no one's going to just start playing toccata and fugue and all this other crazy shit. That was Turkish March. But the point is, even with the advanced stuff, it changes it completely. That is the power of subtlety. If you're just playing, you can play major scales too, so, or, one's way smoother. The second time, I actually missed a note, but it probably sounded smoother. I'm gonna rewind that later and see what happened. But, like, that's totally correct. Or, total, I keep saying total. Anyway, it's very different. It's hard for me to see because I'm recording it at the same time and I can't really listen when I'm playing. But that is a huge way to improve your subtle playing. If you're listening and actively listening to what you're doing, you're gonna correct what's wrong. And by what's wrong, it's what your taste is. Because you could play the same thing and it's quote unquote right every time. Like, let's see, arpeggios. So major arpeggio, 2 octave, totally fine. Or, because now they're ringing out. It's not just, the notes weren't bleeding together at all, or, as I missed a note, that you don't really hear it, but you really do hear it. It changes the way you play. That's why whenever someone plays, there's those nuances, and you can tell what a bass player is, even if they're playing who the bass player is, even if they're playing the exact same thing. Other subtleties, playing chords, yeah, just with your picking hand. Again, back to assigning a muting here on the E, and then ring goes for the higher string, middle goes here. And could be changed. Because you could play that too, just raking. Then again, it stops every note every time your finger hits it, so you could just kind of crane over it and claw. So, and even there, I'm not playing all of them at the same time. It's stuff like a drummer would hit a snare with 2 hands, right? Like, or it leads for I can't even speak. Or it leads before it a flam. There's 1 right before it, so that type of thing. And when you quicken it up, it's not, if you see it in Pro Tools or on actual recording, the what do they call them? Transients, just a big word for the height of the waveform, won't be exactly on the same time. That would be, that's the same one. So just subtle differences. I don't know really too else. 25 minutes already? Holy shit. Yeah, I don't know if I have too much more. I think I spent a lot of time proving that I'm not very good at slapping. So you know that. I'll do a video on that maybe, but I have a hard time doing a video when there's so much other great shit on the internet for people to take in. I'm only gonna make videos on stuff I'm comfortable with playing, so there's that. But to prove the point, we all have shit that we need to improve on. Do I need to? I don't know, maybe. But other than that, let me know in the comments what your subtle playing is, because everyone has something, and there's a fine line between playing with like a mistake or like shitty technique. Technique's only shitty when you're really just first starting out. If you know why you're doing something, and it's because it makes it sound better because you're actively listening, then it's technique. It's not bad technique, it's your subtle differences. Like for me, it's playing right here on that bar. I like it because it'll get me around the fretboard as I'm burping up lunch. That's disgusting. Anyway, it gets me around it a lot quicker. For someone else, they might hate it because you can get those buzz notes pretty easily. But I like it. Might work for me. It definitely works for me. Won't work for someone else. So yeah, leave in the comments what works for you, what doesn't. And again, complaints and suggestions. I'm all about suggestions. I try to upload as much as possible. The algorithm, everyone says algorithm, like I'm not going to complain about it, but it doesn't work every single day. I started doing that and it doesn't. Now it pushes shorts out every day. So I'm going for now until I totally change it up again. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday will actually be videos, but I'm gonna go live a lot more because I end up feeling like a load of shit, like I'm not doing anything, and I end up making a video, and that's how I get back into it every single day. So I'll go live more often, which means I can directly answer questions, I can directly work on anything. If you want to see me actually practice slapping, I'll put my humility aside. I could do that on the next live video and just show you how I'd learn. Like, I know how to slap. It's been a long time. I've been a lot better at it over the years. But we could do a video on Seinfeld and we'll learn that line together. That line is actually on keyboard too. But the I'm definitely capable of teaching that. So next live video, we'll break that one out. Yeah, other than that, that's all I really got. And again, I think I'm getting better at closing this thing down. Oh my goodness. All right, thank you so much. See you later.